We had Tyler Kennedy on today, and I asked him about it because TK was a guy, is mostly a third-line guy in his career who did have to play with a little bit of an edge, but he's not the biggest guy, but he's used to physicality. And on one hand, I could understand where he's coming from. It's a fast game. Unless you've basically been at ice level, I don't think you can really appreciate how fast it is and how quickly guys have to make these decisions. And TK defended Dylan. He said, I don't think he's a dirty player. I don't think he was going for a headshot. Both guys have to be more responsible there. And it was, again, on Achari. He was, like, suggesting Achari's head's down. He's trying to grab the puck. You look at that replay that we just showed, I think he sees Dylan the whole way. I mean, his head looks like it's up. He's cognizant of what's coming down the tracks at him. And I thought Dylan, in that situation, to me, the player trying to deliver the hit, it is incumbent on them to try to make sure they take the body. Dylan made no effort to do that. Slow up even a hair, adjust his angle, and he could have, the way Achari was positioned, he could have wiped him out with a body check, a violent one, the kind of hit people want in the game. And instead, I think he just chose to go right into him. It looked like he broke Achari's nose in addition to what other damage he did to him. And I don't like that hit. You probably could have given him 5 games. I'm glad they gave him something. I think it says something about the hit that it was very quickly reviewed into a match penalty, which is obviously one where it's intent to injure maliciously. You know, that's the difference between that just being a 5-minute major and a match penalty. They thought that there was intent to cause injury in a malicious fashion. I just don't like that play, and you know what I really don't like, Bob, and obviously I respect Tyler's opinion as a guy who played the game, but I really don't like that we always come back on these hits to, boy, what's the guy skating doing with his head down? It's always coming back to that guy's got to protect himself. How? He's trying to play the puck. He sees Dylan coming, and then he gets his head practically knocked off. I don't like that part of hockey culture where it's always the guy getting hit that at least bears some blame, it seems like, in these situations.
Right. No, the bottom line is he didn't go out of his way to avoid the head, which is why I thought I should have got more than 3 games. And the only way you get rid of this kind of stuff is by coming down on it pretty hard when you have the opportunity. And as you said, they didn't waste any time. The good news for the Penguins, they got 5 minutes of power play, and, man, they won a game on the power play. That and Tristan Jarry, both good news there. I'll tell you something, Chris. Tristan Jarry is playing like a man who is showing the NHL and the Penguin fan base that this was a good move to sign him to a 5-year deal. Maybe not 5 years. I know the term was a little bit much for me. But $5 million a year is doable for a guy who's going to be a good, hopefully lockdown goaltender in the postseason.
That save percentage hovers between like .915 and .920 the rest of the year, and he's playing like not obviously shutting every team out, but yeah, I'm okay with that. I think he's looked largely pretty good this year. I can't really think of too many games that stick out in my mind as, oh my God, Tristan Jarry blew that game. There's 1 or 2 maybe that he didn't have his best, but you know as well as I do, if they make the playoffs, we used to just say wait till the playoffs and we'll see, but if they make the playoffs, everybody's going to wonder if the demons are going to come back on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, but you have to do it. I know it sounds cliche. Chris, I've heard you guys say that a million times before, but until they make the playoffs and he gets them through a series, you have to say it.
Absolutely, and he knows it more than anyone. But he also has the belief of his GM and more specifically his head coach. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Steelers, what they've been up to, and they made an interview today, and it looks like they may be creating a new position. We'll talk about that and more as we continue. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. It's on 7 nights a week, KDK Plus, and most of the time on 93.7 The Fan. Like tonight, give us a shout. All right, welcome back. Bob Pompeani, Chris Mueller with you right here on the Sports Call. This is our GMC Sierra tweet of the night. It's from Aaron Wilson, who covers the NFL at large. And apparently the Chargers assistant, Tom Arth, is being interviewed for the Steelers for what would be a new position. They need a wide receivers coach, but it would not be bad to have a pass game coordinator, and that's what he did under Brandon Staley. He also worked with Peyton Manning, so the guy's got some resume material there, and I think that would be a welcome sight, Chris, to get someone in here who has, a vision, and you can work it with Arthur Smith. You can do a lot of different things there, but to me, the more the merrier. If you get these guys in a room and there are a lot of different opinions, I think that's what they need to do.
Well, he was also the head coach at John Carroll, where they had to overcome the Mount Union juggernaut every year, or at least try. His time is, don't go look up his Akron football head coaching record. I mean, it wasn't good. But it's brain power. It's adding to the coaching staff potentially. I really hope that they create this position. Art Rooney did allude to that. I will be honest with you, when he first said that they would at least look at that kind of thing because they have to see what the rest of the league is doing and acknowledge it, I took that as lip service to the idea. But without even knowing whether or not this guy can dial up good pass game concepts, the idea that they would even interview him for it is a little bit more of a reassuring sign that they understand the need exists on their coaching staff to expand this way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. And Art Rooney did not rule out potentially trading for a quarterback. He didn't go into specifics other than to say that they have not thrown anything out. They're going to consider things. I don't know if that's lip service or not, but I do know that if the price is right, and from what I saw tonight, Adam Schefter seems, if it's specific to Justin Fields, that they'd be looking for a #1 pick. I would not do that. However, if it dropped a little bit, I certainly would be in those conversations, but I'm sure a lot of other teams would be as well.
Well, Bob, I thought you did a terrific job with your one-on-one with Art, first of all. I thought you got a lot of good stuff out of him that the media in a group setting wasn't able to get, and you piggybacked off some of the answers they got nicely to get more out of Art, so I'll give you plaudits for that, of course. I would ask you, though, you know the man much better than I do and most others do because you have a chance to talk to him more than most people do. When he talked about the quarterback position and the idea of maybe making a trade, your gut feeling, was it that he was talking about maybe a move like a Justin Fields, or do you think he was more talking about acquiring a veteran backup type of guy who might be under contract to someone else right now but might be had for a very late round pick as a mentor? Because I will concede this. While the idea of Fields is very enticing because he's younger than Pickett, because of the natural ability that he brings to the table, my gut tells me that Art was more thinking of like a long-term or an aging backup type who can mentor Kenny.
Yeah, I think my gut told me the same thing. But again, if the price falls on Justin Fields, I don't know. I would be intrigued by that because I know Mike Tomlin spent a lot of time with that guy, and I think he likes that guy, and we'll see what happens with Mason Rudolph. If Mason Rudolph leaves and they don't have many other options in terms of veteran backups, they may look at that. Then it would lead to a whole different conversation, Chris. Now all of a sudden you want to get the most out of Kenny Pickett, but if you bring this guy in, he's due I think it's a $22 million fifth-year option eventually, he would have to play, right? I mean, or do you just say, okay, will the best man win? They have a lot at stake here with Kenny Pickett. How do you see that if it ever comes to it?
I don't mean to sound almost dismissive of Kenny Pickett here, but if they were to trade, say, a second-round pick for Justin Fields, and it all matters as to what matters there, by the way, price-wise, is how many teams are seriously interested. If you're the Steelers, you want maybe one other team interested, if that. The more the merrier for the Bears and the higher that pick goes. But if the Steelers were to actually acquire Justin Fields, regardless of the pick they used to get him, he would be their starter. I don't really think there would be a debate about that. He's the more talented player. He's the higher ceiling player. And quite honestly, based on what we know about Arthur Smith's offense, he's the guy that fits what Arthur Smith wants quarterbacks to do far more than does Kenny Pickett.
Yep, I would agree with that. Let's go out to Bill on our hotline. He joins us in Penn Hills. Hello, Bill. Welcome to the Ireland Contracting.
I just wanted to say, I don't know why they keep trying to play Kenny Pickett. He showed what he could do, which wasn't anything. And then
I wouldn't say that totally. I mean, there were some good moments, especially in the fourth quarters of games where he came back.
Very few moments, if you ask me.
All right.
And Mason Rudolph actually showed him what he could do. I don't know why they don't promote him.
Well, he's a free agent, and so the first thing with him is they got to figure out if they can offer him enough or if he sees this as his best opportunity. Having said that, Chris, I think he does look at this as his best opportunity. Then the next question would be, if I'm him, do I get a legitimate shot? And how much are you going to pay me? And if the price is right, I think he'd stay here.
I don't think he's going to get a legitimate shot here. I truly don't believe that. I think the Steelers would like to see him go and test free agency and would be hoping quietly that somebody makes him a really good offer that he can't refuse so that they essentially don't have to worry about people wondering, well, why didn't you bring this guy back? He signed for a very small amount of money. I think they hope somebody knocks his socks off. I'm kind of with the caller. He showed more in a couple of games than I've seen really from Kenny Pickett ever. And I'll go back to this. It's not really what he showed me. He clearly showed his offensive teammates something. It's not hard to, those guys, whether they were trying to be a little bit coy about it or be civil about it or just come out and say it, he got them to rally around him. And I do not think that is an insignificant component to this discussion. And I think the Steelers, if they truly want Kenny Pickett to have one real fair shot year with this offense, they can't bring Mason Rudolph back.
Duquesne, by the way, lost to Davidson tonight. So let's get a pit call in before we go to break. That'd be Robert in Bethel Park. Hey, Robert.
You guys kind of took my thunder with those comments about the Pitt performance tonight. The three-guard offense, putting Leggett, Lowe, and Carrington on the floor at the same time, seems to be making a difference with that lineup, and they've been much better since they've really brought those three guys in with Vincent and Federico down on the box, down on the inside. Yeah. So,
Robert, I would say one more thing.
They've done.
Yeah, I would say they've done some things strategically where I would give Capel credit. I'd like to see them have a little bit more good set offense, like some reliable plays where they can get shots. But I'll tell you what an X factor could be. I don't know about you, Bob. I watched that game. I really like it when Lowe is the primary ball handler and Carrington can work off of that a little bit as a shooting guard, because that was the thing. Carrington was supposed to come in as more of a two-guard. Yeah. When Lowe is the lead guard and Carrington works off the ball and can kind of get off the bounce and try to score, I think he looks pretty dangerous more often than not.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it's going to be fun to watch them, and they could be a bubble team moving their way up to an NCAA tournament. Last year they got to Dayton. You'd like to get one of those without having to go to Dayton. We'll see how this goes, but that win in Duke seems to have really done a good thing for them. We're going to take a break, come back with more. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We're live right here on KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan. Don't be a stranger. Give us a call. To Franklin Park, where Frank is on the line, appropriately in Franklin Park. What's up, Frank?
Hey, Bob. Enjoy your interviews every year with Mr. Rooney. But
Thanks.
Today, your segment, where he emphasized about developing Kenny Pickett, I just think that's such a foreshadow and an insult to Mason Rudolph. You know, after the cards, the hand he's been dealt all this time. If I'm him, I'm definitely trying to land elsewhere. And I want to add, I agree with Pony. Your preparation for those interviews, you're not going to be John Shumway or Thor Tolo and get kicked out of the Rooney press conference.
Well, listen, we only have a limited amount of time, so we try to squeeze as much in. And there are certain things that, you're just not going to get. They keep things pretty tight to the vest. But I will say this. He gave a lot of praise to Mason Rudolph too, Chris, and I think he did that at the end of the year. There's a lot to like there. But the first-round status, you can do what San Francisco did, and you can decide that, hey, we have Trey Lance. He's third overall. We're going to force feed him and keep him and keep him and keep him. But if you see someone else who's better, and they had a guy on their roster who not many people, maybe except Kyle Shanahan, thought was going to be this good, and they went with him. So, but I understand trying to get the most out of a number one pick.
Bob, can I finish with a quick thing on my phone here? If it was good enough for Stephen A. Smith to answer it, I think it's good enough for us. Can I just throw you a total curveball here?
Make it quick, yeah.
You're in an arena with 50 hawks, 10 crocodiles, 3 brown bears, 15 wolves, 1 hunter with a rifle, 7 Cape buffalo, 10,000 rats, 5 gorillas, and 4 lions. Pick 2 of those groups of animals to defend you while the rest attack you and try to survive for 1 hour. What are you picking? I'll tell you what Stephen A. Smith picked after you pick.
Well, I don't have time to answer that. I'd
4
say
lions and 10,000 rats.
I'd be having a glass of Cabernet watching someone else survive in that moment. Thank you, though. Appreciate it, Chris. Good night.